Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy!
Hey, welcome back to the newest weekly installment of the Ages of Rock podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dennis Talbot. I'm here with the other two cohorts that do this with me every week. Alan
Cohort?
Tate.
That's not what you called us earlier.
What'd you call you? I've been
Alan
called a lot
Tate.
of things, but I don't think I've been called a cohort.
On there, and Bill Algie. So there you go. These two guys that I do this with every week. Actually, for 158 episodes. This is episode number 158. We have Tyson Leslie on here with us tonight. He is a musician from Indianapolis, from Nashville, that we met at the residency. We actually didn't meet him. We saw him play, and I've been friends with him on Facebook, and he's got a lot of interesting irons in the fire, so we'll talk to him here in a little bit. So what's going on, guys, this week? Anything new and exciting?
First of
7
all,
day.
Everybody's got something to say.
let me get this out.
Let's get some shout outs.
Next week
All right.
we're going to have an announcement for you for the Rockin' Pod Expo. But
There
in
you
the
go.
meantime, I have quite a few shout outs for episode 157.
Shoutouts by Alan Tate.
Bill Elam, Brian Harris, Mary Jane Brown, Kaylin Provo, Sandy Whitler, David Cathy, Lauren Remines, Eric Langdon, Craig Osborne, Laura Tate, Larissa Kish, Susan Kervich, Mick Goodfellow, Joe Kuntz, Larissa Kish again, Average White Sis. These are Twitter, by the way. Brad Lang, Mitch LaFawn, Bill Algie, Alan Tate, 80s Party for a Purpose, and Dennis Talbot. Thank you, people, for the shout-outs. We appreciate
welcome.
it. Yay!
You're welcome. That's what we do.
You got to share some love, man.
Yeah. So,
And that's all I got to say about that.
okay. Well, what we got this week? Anybody got anything, any news or anything going on?
7 days.
7 days. Till
The
what?
wait will be over in 7 days.
For what?
The hottest band in the world in Louisville, Kentucky.
Really?
Yes.
That's very interesting.
Interesting.
That's very interesting.
You're not going to Louisville, are you? Turd burglar. He is. Look, that's the announcement. He couldn't do it. He couldn't wait. He could only go to one show. He's such an ass.
All right. And this is why Alan will hate me, because we had some band stuff to work on next Tuesday. It's going to be postponed probably a week, because that's the same night.
Oh, why would I hate you for that? That just gives
Well,
me
I
more
don't know.
time to put off not practicing.
Okay. So anyway, here's what happened. I was thinking about it, and the problem is the only show that I am actually going to go to right now is the one in Indianapolis in August 31st, which is at an outdoor shed. So I'm not sure what that show. I've looked at the pictures from the show. The show looks really cool in an arena, all this stuff. I just don't know what it's going to look like at Rudolph. Can you see my point on that? And I actually made that point. I made that point here a while back. I said, you know what? I need to probably see it in an arena. Well, unbeknownst to me,
Still the guy that said he wasn't going.
well, but the whole point was, I looked at tickets tonight. I got an upper deck. I mean, there's.
I'll wave
I'm
to you.
the corner, but I'm not that far up. I'm like only like a few rows up on that corner row. $39, dude.
Great, man.
61 with all the fees and everything. So I'm going to be there. I got and there's nobody off that day, so I took a half day's vacation. So I'm off at 10:30 in the morning. So I'll probably meet you guys up in the. I work early, you bitches. My day's done at
day. I'm
10:30.
leaving at 10:30. What the hell, dude?
Yeah, my half day starts. So 10:30, I'm done. So anyway, I'm going to plan on going to Louisville. I'm going to come home to get a shower, change clothes. I'm going to Louisville, probably hit some of those record stores or somewhere. So I don't know what your plan is that day. I know you guys are going to maybe eat dinner or something, or meet for dinner later that day, right?
Slurring your words.
You got a
dude.
little slurry there.
Have you been drinking?
No, I'm.
His
Is it- is
Wi-Fi
my
connection, his internet connection got a little drunk there for a second.
It's like,
It's still,
we're gonna
it's
go
still
to
doing
some
It just did it
record
that one time,
store.
Dennis.
I rebooted my thing and
Dude,
everything.
just
I don't
let
know
it
what's
go.
going on.
It's okay. We're just busting your balls.
It did
It's
it,
okay.
but it did it. It did it last time a few times, and I'm wondering why it's doing that.
Trying.
So anyway,
So we're meeting at I'm meeting Brian at
at the Spaghetti
Factory at like 5:00 or something like that.
Okay. Well, I'll probably be there, and we'll be okay. So.
Oh, I do have something to mention. This Saturday, I'll be in Louisville to see Metallica.
Oh man.
My first time ever.
Yeah, they're gonna be in here. They're gonna be in Indy on Monday night.
So we're gonna have all kinds of things to talk about next week.
No kidding.
I'd like to go. I'd like to go Monday night. I really
Or not
would.
next week, it'd be the week after actually, because
I don't
we're
wanna-
gonna be. No, it'd be unless we do the show on Monday.
One of these days. We'll get it done one of these days.
Yeah. All right.
Well, you guys
anyway.
about ready to talk to our guest?
Let's get Tyson.
I think we should.
Let's do
All
it.
right. Tyson.
All right, we're here with Tyson Leslie. We're glad to have you on. You are a musician that we saw at the last residency show down in Nashville at the Mercy Lounge. We saw you playing keyboards and guitar on a couple of songs up there. And then I ended up friending you because you had put a lot of those videos up there, and then realized, of course, all you guys in Nashville that we've met down there, all the people we've had on here before, you guys are all great musicians, and you're just intertwined with a bunch of other people as far as playing abilities and bands that you play in.
Mm-hmm.
And I just seen that you were on this, was it the Monsters of Rock cruise, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, we just did that last week.
So
That was a
let's
lot
talk
of
about-
fun.
So let's talk about that. Let's just start out with, and then kind of introduce yourself, and then who you played with, and who you're playing with,
Oh,
and go from there.
All right. Well,
Get the scroll out.
no, yeah. My name's Tyson Leslie, and I've been in Nashville for about 4 years. I came from Kansas City, where I played in a bunch of different bands there, both locally. And my first, I guess, big gig, if you want to call it that, was playing keyboards with Corey Taylor from Slipknot. He was doing a side project that was solo material that never actually saw the light of day yet. It very well may one day see the light of day, but it hasn't yet. And then when that ended, I was just playing in piano bars around Kansas City, and I just kind of burned out and did everything I needed to do in that town and played with all my heroes and played all the venues that I could possibly play. And I got a call from a guy here in Nashville who plays for Jason Aldean, and he kind of pitched me an idea of a gig that he thought I'd be good for. He knew me as a bass player because he and I had played together in Kansas City on a gig, and I was playing bass on that gig. And he convinced me to move out here because I was just looking for somewhere to go. I was kind of run out of options. So I moved out here, and after about 3 months of being here, I ended up playing keyboards with country guy Tracy Lawrence. And so that was my first kind of gig here. And I discovered pretty quickly that I'm not very good at country music. Like, I never really played. I mean, I like it, and but that kind of music was just something I'd never really played before. And I learned a lot. It was a really good experience. And then after a few months, I got a call from Tony Higbee, who plays guitar with Tom Kiefer from Cinderella. And he said, "Hey, Vixen is looking for a keyboard player who can do tour managing duties." And I was like, "Well, yeah, have her give me a call." And so I called Cher, our bass player, and her and me and the new guitar player, Brittany, we flew down to Florida, and we both auditioned at the same time, and we both got the gig at the same time and have been there ever since. And so, but I think the reason I got the call from Tony, it was because he'd seen me playing with the Rock and Roll Residency. And then there's an offspring band from that called the Big Rock Show that features Brian Cook and Jeremy Asbrock from the Residency.
Right.
And Paul Taylor is the keyboard player in that band from Winger. And he was playing at the time, he was still playing with Tom Kiefer, and he was so busy that they needed a sub. And so that turned out to be me. And so I played with them, and that's how we did like the Kiss Cruise together. We did the Kid Rock cruise and some of those types of events. And I believe just doing those gigs with those two different bands, Tony had seen me enough to, I guess, I barely knew Tony. That was a really surprising call, to be honest, to get, and a very flattering call that he'd, I guess he'd seen I did a good enough job that I was worthy of a call to get a gig like I have now, which was great because that's exactly what I was looking for. And now I'm playing in a band with a bunch of people that I really like and with music that I grew up on that I really liked and that is a lot more in my wheelhouse. And on top of that, just playing all these gigs with all my heroes and people that I grew up loving, and Monsters of Rock cruise. This is the second one we've done with me, and I'm just looking around the room we have an artist party at the end of that, and I'm just like, man, all these people used to hang on my wall as a kid. This is pretty surreal, and it's pretty awesome. So that's kind of where I'm at as of right now. We're looking to fill up the calendar in the rest of the year and go back out and do Vixen stuff. And then on the side, when I'm here, I play at a piano bar here in Nashville 3 nights a week, and then pick up gigs with different artists, country artists and rock artists and whatever kind of comes my way. So
yeah, I see where you play down on Broadway every once in a while. I know Christopher Williams and a bunch of those guys that we've had on the show and we're friends with. They do the same thing. They'll get a call and they'll go run down and pick up a gig down there and stuff like that, which is really cool.
All the time. Yeah. It's a great place to be for working musicians for sure, if that's what you want to do.
Exactly. And like I said, there's a lot of great music. We've met in the last 3 or 4 years or 2 years that we've been doing this show. We've really met a lot of people, and Nashville's been a place where we do the Rock and Pod and go down there, and we've met so many people from down there, and then made friends with a lot of these guys. And like I said, there's just a plethora of really good people and good musicians down in Nashville right now, and a lot of rock musicians.
A lot of them, and they keep coming. I mean, Brian from Kicks just bought a house here. And I know I was talking to Ron Young from Little Caesar, and he's looking at, they're all it just keeps coming, and that's fine with me. Keep them coming,
Exactly.
So who all was on the Monsters of Rock? Do they have a headliner band on that, or is it
kind of? I mean, there's so many of them. The top billing acts were Tesla, Tom Kiefer, Extreme, and Queensryche. But Saxon, Skid Row, Udo Dirkschneider from the old singer.
Oh yeah, cool.
That guy, he was up there with the cane and just sounds exactly like he did in 1981. He sounds incredible. I was actually really impressed. Kicks is on, they've been on most of them. Y&T, King's X, which I love that band. And, some standout ones that I had not really seen before, like Richie Kotzen when he did his solo stuff. He's extraordinary an extraordinary talent, but I felt like he spent a lot of time trying to figure out where he belonged. He did Poison and he didn't really fit in that, and he did Mr. Big and he fit that better, but it still wasn't it was different because it wasn't Paul Gilbert. So it's the sound was different, and now he's doing his thing and the Winery Dogs and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's really found his path. He's doing stuff that really accentuates all of his talents. He's an incredible singer. I had no idea until the Winery Dogs came out. I was like, geez, man, that guy can sing really, really well. And then you see him live and it's he sounds like Chris Cornell. It's pretty impressive. But there's a ton more bands there. There's at least 40, 50 bands on that thing. It's crazy.
Wow. How many was it sold out? Was the boat full?
Yeah, this one was sold out.
That's cool. I think there's just a big resurging. I think that, especially for all of us, around our age or whatever, it's kind of like, we're the radio just is horrible, and so you got to find something else. And I like going to clubs and sitting and watching shows and watching people play, and it's so much better. I just not into the new music and stuff like that. Now, some of the older artists that are putting out new music, I really enjoy that, and even some of the new stuff if you can get the right ones. But I think you're just longing for that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. You get people. I mean, for older people like us, it's always that way. You're not supposed to like what your kids like. That's just how it's always been for generations and generations. Like I can remember growing up and listening to Anthrax, and my mom busted in on me going, "What is this? Why are you listening to this? This is obnoxious." And turn it off, like, and I'm when I've got 3 kids, and my teenager is finally starting to find music that he likes. But for a long time, I'd walk in and just be like, why are you listening to this? This, he was like, he was Justin Bieber and stuff like that. And I was, this is stupid. And, but like, the thing is, a lot of folks, you hear so many times, like, there's no good music these days, and the music's terrible. And it's like, well, you need to get off the radio, and you need to get off of, like, yeah, there isn't any good music if you're listening. If all you're getting your music from is like all the typical commercial outlets. There's lots and lots of great music out there, and it's more accessible than ever. You just got to know how to find it and where to look. And so, like you said, through Spotify and I've discovered stuff just on Spotify where it's like, well, if you like this, you might like this. Okay,
exactly.
I'll like this and go, holy crap, I actually do like this. This is great. Or, and I probably take 1 or 2 days out of each month and go through. I have a list that's called like new releases, and it's all the bands that I like. So like when Queensryche put out a new record, I was alerted like, hey, they put out a new record, check it out. And I found that there's a lot of really, really cool stuff out there from a lot of the bands that we like Overkill has new music out. A lot of these old bands are still putting out stuff, and some of it's really, really good, but you're just not going to hear it on the radio anymore. And stuff like that. So,
yeah. How's the new Queensryche album? Is it pretty good? I haven't. Yeah. I've seen it, but I haven't heard it yet.
Yeah, it's kind of heavy. It's a little different, and I spent some time with Todd recently because he lives down in Florida, and Vixen played down there, and we hung out, and then we hung out on the boat, and Todd played drums on it because Scott he hasn't quit, but he's just kind of gone on hiatus and hasn't told anybody when he's coming back. So they used Scott. They used Todd, and Todd played drums on it, and he did a great job. He's an incredible drummer, and in addition to him being a spot-on vocalist. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's worth checking out anyway.
Cool. That's cool. Yeah, I have to check it out then. I did actually see the vinyl. I was kind of crazy. I don't remember where I was at, but I saw like they had 3 copies of that on vinyl, and I was like, well, that's pretty. I didn't even know it was out, so I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
There's that resurgence of vinyl. I mean,
yeah.
When we put our live album out last year, we put out vinyl too, and that was the first vinyl I've ever owned that I played on, so I was like pretty stoked about it.
That's cool though.
I didn't even have a record player yet. I got one recently, but now I have one. But it's kind of cool.
I'm going to jump back here real quick. You just mentioned you look for music on Spotify or whatever. As a working musician, what is your opinion of people using Spotify instead of buying your band's new album or whatever?
I think it's kind of one of those unfortunate things that it's such a new medium that they're still trying to figure out the best ways of being able to compensate the artists and the writers and the people that are, they're involved. And it's just not something that has been solved and fixed yet. But at the end of the day, you just can't fight the way things evolve. Like, it's just the way kids, especially young people, that's just how they're going to get music from now on. It's so, as much as I would love for people to buy my newest CD, shit, I mean, cars don't even have CD players anymore. And, newer cars that come out, they don't have them. Like, there's been a couple times where I've like wanted to give people music and I go, hey, do you have a CD player? Like, no. I'm like, well, I guess I'll give it to you on a memory stick or something. Like, it's just, it's different. And so,
wow.
It's
I just thought about that. My son just bought a brand new RAV4. It doesn't have a CD player in it.
Oh,
It's got a port, but it doesn't have I just realized that.
And all these newer cars, I mean, every time I rent a car, they don't have a CD player. I use my Bluetooth, to connect with my phone. And so, and 90% of the time when people get a CD, they just rip it into their computer and put it on their phone anyway. And then the CD just becomes a coaster. They don't even look at it, if they even open it at all. Like I can't tell you how many countless CDs that I've probably given to people that they never even opened at all. Like, and if I send them a file in an email, then they'll check it out. It's just how it is. And it's like, again, it's that old versus new type of mentality where you have to try to change with the times. And some of us old guys are just like, we're fighting it. But eventually you just either have to get in or you get left behind. And you don't want to do that. So it's like with the Spotify type of thing and Apple Music and all that, I welcome it. And that way I can just go, here's the link, check it out. And maybe they will, or maybe they won't. So,
well, I mean, if you look at it to where, like, say Spotify is a radio station, and then you're getting, because I pay $14 a month for the Spotify service, in which they could get that stuff divvied up to you guys that need it.
Right.
But the whole point is that I hear stuff and I listen to it. Then if I find something that I do like, now myself, I go out and buy the physical product.
Right.
Or I'll go to the shows and I'll pay to go see the person and buy merchandise. The problem is you got kids who just don't do that. They just keep listening and listening and listening. They don't, we still have that whole thing, and it's like, we want to support that band because we want more stuff out. So we will buy the physical product. We'll see if you got LPs coming out, because I'm back in vinyl again. I went through vinyl 40 years ago. Now I'm back in vinyl again, which I'm loving. And
if I go see a local band and I like it, I'll buy that stuff.
Oh, and
I'll buy a CD, I'll buy a T-shirt, I'll buy everything that they've got if I like what they have, because I want to support them monetarily. And just I still do enjoy sitting there looking at writing credits and looking at lyrics and looking at the artwork.
I like physical product. I like to get, like, the last thing I hear, I just bought Accepts,
nice.
With Philip and Emma in there, and Christopher. And I was like, I just want to support friends, and I also love physical product. I like to have something in my hands.
Yeah, I do too. And I'll occasionally I'll take some things and have them signed and all that type of thing.
Of course, exactly.
I'm a fan just like anybody else. I just happen to be one of those lucky fans that also am kind of now becoming peers with some of these people. So I don't discount that or take that for granted at all. It's pretty exciting.
It's kind of, I'm sure it sounds to me like, we've all of a sudden got phone numbers of people doing this show that's like, it's like, how did that happen?
Oh yeah.
How do we have like Rudy Sarzo's phone number and Jeff Pilson's contact information? And I mean, what the hell? Sometimes you just sit there for a minute and you're kind of like, we're doing this, and we've done it this has all just been for fun, and it's just been we're not making any money, and it's all just about for us to have an outlet to do something. And all of a sudden it's like, damn, we got some pretty cool people on the show. We've
had people back. We've had Jeff back, and Todd Howarth. I was a big 707 fan, and he's Frehley's comments. I've talked to him. We'll text back and forth. I'm like going,
great,
texting with Todd. How great is that?
I mean, today I put a show together in Nashville, and we do it about three times a year, called Rare Hair, and it's just a bunch of local, like the touring guys, the guys that play for all your big country acts like Taylor Swift and whatever, and then all the guys, the rock guys in the community like Troy Luccketta and Paul Taylor, and I got a lot of the guys that were on the boat actually, and we all get together and play a bunch of deep cut 80s hair metal stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And one of the numbers I got on the boat was Eddie Trunks, because I was like, man, I think I just happened to run into him in catering, and I was like, we got talking about it, and I was like, man, I think it'd be really fun to have you come in and just host one of these things. And he's like, oh, here you go, take my number down. I'm like, well, kick ass, like, all right, let's do it. and
That's awesome.
and those types of things are just
Yeah.
not even just musicians. Even like hanging out with Jim Florentine. Every time I hear him talk, I keep picturing Craig Akers in my head. It's just like it's so great. I'm talking to special ed right now. This is weird.
So this 80s thing that you are putting together, when is that going to be, and where is it going to be at in Nashville?
The next one we're going to do is April 1st. It's at the Basement East.
Okay.
And so far I just like as of about an hour ago, we got like Jack Gibson from Exodus is playing on a tune, Anthony Corder from Tora Tora, and then those are the two, and Chuck Garrick from Alice Cooper's band. Those are all the ones that I've.
That's another phone number that I have. It was weird. We were interviewing him at Indy, and I took some pictures, and I said, he goes, I want those pictures, and I go, where do you want them? He goes, here's my cell phone number, and I'm like, I'm gonna keep this one.
Yeah, he rules, man. I love that guy.
He's funny as fuck.
And so I mean, those are just some of the, I guess, name guys that I and like let's see, we did one a few months ago. We had Dan Huff and Mark Oakley from Giant, and we did a Giant tune with Dan's son, and it was amazing. I mean, and this thing, we're on our 9th show now, and it just keeps building and building into a bigger. I mean, it just keeps growing. And this summer, we do a thrash metal show every summer, and we're trying to bring in Ellefson and then Frank and Joey from Anthrax to come in and be part of it. So it's,
Well, these two old fuckers don't care much for thrash, but I might end up showing up at that show.
Yeah. And Tyson, I tell you what, any of these shows, please let us know in advance, and we'll promote them on our program, plus put them on our website, and we'll definitely want to show up ourselves.
Are you guys live here?
We live 2 hours away. We live up at, actually, Bill's 3 hours away or so. 3 and 4. He's in Columbus, Indiana, and we're in southern Indiana, Evansville, Newburgh area is where we're at in Evansville. But I can hit the road right now and be in Nashville in 2 hours. So it's okay. But we're close enough to go down there and check it out.
I see all this music gear. Are you guys all players yourselves?
Bill can play cowbell.
I'm a listener.
No, I'm a player. I've been a player. I just got out of a band that I played in for 8 years, just cover tunes.
Okay.
But Alan and I are now working on something, a little project. So
But I am not the drummer.
He's not a drummer.
Okay.
My drum's taken apart. Actually, my drums are over there. I got the same set, but
my drums have become like a desk. There's papers and shit over there. Like I haven't even touched them in forever because I play them at work all the time. But I don't really get a chance to play them at home because, I got my little guy that lives here, and it's just loud. They're noisy, you know how it is.
What are you? You are basically. You are a keyboard player. That's your main instrument. I know you say you play bass and you play, but I've seen video of you playing bass, and I see all the other instruments back there. But is the keyboard your main instrument?
It just depends on the gig. I mean, keys and bass are where I'm most comfortable.
Gotcha.
I played bass in a band for 6 years, and I got pretty proficient at it. We were playing stuff like Primus and Tool, and I was a '90s band, so we played all kinds of stuff. And I really enjoy doing it. And I play bass in a band every Sunday night here down on Broadway that plays old '80s metal covers and stuff. And then I would say I'm a really decent rhythm guitar player, but I'm not a fantastic lead player. Like I can shred with the best of them, but I'm still playing.
I'm a rhythm player too.
I'm just playing all the same licks that I learned when I was 18, and I didn't get too far on it. Then I play drums at the piano bar job quite a bit, and I play. I could hang drums in a rock band, no problem, and I have. It's just not something people think of me as right off the bat. But usually with, if there's strings on it, I can get around it and figure it out some way or another. It just depends on the instrument. Some may take more time than others. But, like it just kind of depends on the gig. Last night I played guitar and keys on a gig. And then, Other gigs, I'm just the bass player. Other gigs, I'm just the keyboard player. And then when I do the Rare Hair show, I play everything. So it's just kind of
cool.
When you say just a keyboard player, I saw you play keyboard when y'all did Frankenstein. You're more than
You were on it.
just a keyboard player.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
Well, we brought, Edgar Winter, you got to bring out the keytar because that's just what he did. So and I just happened to own one that I bought when one of those Best Buys were closing their music department, and I found it cheap. And I mean, it was like a $2,000 instrument that I got for $600. I couldn't pass it up.
Exactly.
I tell you, the amazing thing to me was, I know that there's a lot of music and a lot of musicians in Nashville that are very talented, but that night that we went to that, the last rock and roll residency thing, I left there and was just amazed at the musicianship and professionalism
and camaraderie of everybody.
I was just shocked. I mean, it was just, I know it was there, but to witness it and see it, it was like, damn, this was just cool. I mean, every single person that got up there and played was just, even though I didn't know who they were, I didn't know their name, I was like, damn, that is awesome. I mean, somebody asked me, said, how would you rate that? And I said, I'm telling you, I've been to 300 plus concerts, and I'm telling you, I would rate that as probably one of the top 5. I mean, it was just,
it's cool.
It was just cool as hell.
Last Rare Hair show, you would have been like, it was insanity. We did, the theme of that show was Guitar Heroes. And so we did, Vi Satriani and that kind of stuff. We also did a Dream Theater tune, and we did it, and basically anybody that was kind of like regarded as a guitar hero from that time period, we covered him. And the kid that played Yngwie Malmsteen was just like insane. He's like 20 something years old, and he played it pretty much flawlessly. It was silly. And there's the amount of talent that you can pull in this town. It's kind of effortless when you're putting these shows together, because I'm in the middle of putting next one together, and it's like I'm getting hit up by all of these people, and I only have 25 songs and so many spaces for these people to be able to play. And it's like, man, I don't want to turn you down, but it's like it's so easy to find people that are excellent at what they do. Right. And you don't have to worry about it. Like they go, how do you, people say, how do you organize all these people? And is it really stressful? And because we usually have about 100 people on the show. And the truth of it is all the stress happens before we even get to the stage. And then once the show starts, if everybody did their homework and just knows the songs, which they do usually, it just runs itself. It's fine because they're so good at what they do and they're all pros. And nobody wants to be that guy that didn't work on the songs, look like a jerk, in front of everybody.
Okay, now go. And you're like, oh, I didn't know it.
Nobody wants to be that person. So
no.
Yeah, I noticed that when Ace Von Johnson got up to play at that last show, and he got up there, and I think Phil said something about, you're doing the lead, right? And he just had this look on his face like, I didn't learn the lead, but well, what the hell? he goes, yeah, sure, whatever, man. And I was like, it's funny. And he's played. You're like, damn, it was amazing.
It's like one of the only people actually on the Rare Hair shows that did show up and kind of it was my fault for putting his song late in the show, and he was just so tanked. He was like, the next day, he's like, did I play last night? I was like, yeah, you were up there. He's hilarious. And I love that guy. He's been a friend for a long time, and the Pussycat guys, more than a lot of those bands, have all been friends for quite a long time now. And they're always, if they're around, they're always invited to play. And in fact, on the Rare Hair, we did a miniature Rare Hair on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and Chad from Faster Pussycat played drums on Enough's Enough's new thing. And unbeknownst to me, that he had played in Enough's Enough like years and years ago. So I was like, oh, you should know this song then.
Maybe.
No, one thing, like I say, I just get out of that whole bunch is, after meeting all you guys down there and hanging with you guys, and you've got people that are, like say with Christopher and Accept, you've got Phil and Jeremy and Ryan, all those guys that are dealing with Gene and Ace, but they're just rubbing with all these royalty of rock, but yet they are just the nicest, down home, just the most person next door people you could ever meet. You know what I'm saying? And it hasn't went to their heads. They're all just down to earth Tennessee people. You know,
that subject comes up a lot in our business, and one thing I've really figured out recently, maybe more than any other time in my life, is that the people that are the most successful and that are doing the things that they want to do and just loving life are the nicest people around. Like, you know, they don't, and I think it's because they don't have anything to prove. They don't have to be. And then there's the other people on the other end that just, they were really close, or they're kind of maybe on the decline, or whatever it is that in their lives that make them not as pleasant to be around and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting thing because everybody I know who's super successful, for example, I was in a band and we did a run with Whitesnake, and David Coverdale came back and checked on us every night. He was knocking on, he comes knocking on the dressing room. Hey, you guys got everything you need? Everything okay? I'm like, he didn't have to do that. Like, it's David Coverdale. Like,
right.
He was the only person in that band that did that, and which was like, blew my mind because, and then there's other people who, I'm not going to name anybody, but it's like there's definitely other people in our business that are absolutely the opposite.
Right.
What is his problem? Like, the kind of guy that clears the whole catering area at M3. It goes, well, so and so's getting ready to go on stage. You all have to leave. It's like, I'm just trying to eat a cheeseburger. I don't care what he's doing. Like, who cares? But everybody's different, and we're very much in the ego business. Regardless, that's just what we are. We're in the look at me business. That's what we do, and everybody responds to that differently in their own worlds. So
I think it's been amazing for us. I mean, I don't think we've had anybody on the show.
Not one.
Of 158 shows, we've not had one person on the show that had an attitude, was difficult to work with. We only had one person say, we don't want you to talk about this, and it was totally something we weren't going to talk about anyway because it was it was not appropriate. So we just we're not going to go there. We're just three guys sitting around having a chat, but we're also going to be somewhat professional, so we know what to stay away from. But everybody's been really cool, and
we've had other people that we would think that would say, hey, there's stuff we won't talk about, and they're like going, no, talk about anything.
Just talk about it. Don't
care. And they would talk about it. But we're not TMZ. We're not TMZ. We're not trying to dig dirt. We're not trying to find out, who your ex-girlfriend is or anything like that.
We're not getting posts from Blabbermouth.
But that's maybe a good thing,
George Lynch, he was doing a clinic in Kansas City where I used to live, and they hired me to play bass on it. And I remember sitting back and talking to him, and I was like, I'm going to be honest, like, I'm really enjoying hanging and playing with you. I didn't expect that at all because I've heard a lot of negative stuff.
Yep.
And I kind of expect you to be an asshole. And he's like, well, I was an asshole for a long time. And he's like, I'm older, wiser. And at this point in my life, it's not about that stuff. He said, at this point, I'm just happy that people show up and still like my music and that still want me to play. I was like, all right, well, with an attitude like that, let's go. I'm good. It's cool. And he's always been real nice, ever since every time I see him. But that was one of those guys that I just heard so much negative stuff about. And so I was kind of intimidated and worried like it was going to go bad. And Josh from Buck Cherry was the same way. Like, all I'd heard was horror story after horror story about like what an asshole he was. And we played this festival with us, and he couldn't have been a nicer guy. And I was just like, wow, that was not what I expected at all. So
and that's good because I think it's a lot of us are, you have your heroes and the people that you look up to, and the worst thing that could ever happen in your life is to meet that person and then they be a dick,
Oh,
or they're
absolutely.
just, or just an asshole. That would just, I mean, that would be, I mean, luckily that's never happened to me, but I've heard of people that's happened to. It's like, I mean, that could just crush. I mean, especially somebody that you've, looked up to for many, many years. And then the first time you meet them, they're just an absolute dick. It's like, oh, really?
The first time I met Ace Frehley, he was a dick. He was just coming off of drugs and alcohol. He's been sober for just a few months. You could tell he was still miserable and trying to get in, But he was an ass to everybody that showed up at the meet and greet. And then I saw him last year in Indianapolis, total 180.
Right.
Went and got something signed. He cracked a joke about it, it
for sure.
Whatever the situation that they're in can also dictate their mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played with a couple of my, again, I won't name, but there's a couple of guys that were my heroes. And as I got to know them, I was like, man, I can't even listen to your music anymore because you're just,
wow.
I loved them. And I still listen to music and go, yeah, that's still really quality stuff. But then I just have this association with having such bad experiences with them that it's hard to get past that, And a couple of those guys were like way up there on my list, and I worked with them, and now I just can't deal.
Wow.
So it can be bad.
Yeah.
So how many? So this summer's coming up. Is Vixen going to be doing a lot of sheds and stuff this summer? Are you going to be doing a lot of shows, or what's the situation?
The way that our calendar works, we kind of tend to get our dates come, like our summer stuff comes in toward the end of March. So we'll kind of see how that pans out. Right now, we do have a pretty good handful of shows already scheduled, and so we're just waiting for it to fill up a little more. Last year was super busy. We did a lot of European stuff. Which is probably why we're not doing them this year, because we did all the major festivals, or not all, but most of the major festivals last year in Barcelona and England, and we did 2 things in Spain actually, and Germany and that type of thing. So we did like Sweden Rock, some of those real big ones. And so this year we also just got a new singer. Our singer retired, so that kind of changed things too. I think maybe some of the venues were kind of holding out, going, well, let's see how this goes. And we've had really successful shows with Lorraine. She's great, and and audiences responded to her really well. So I think now that the word's kind of getting out that everything is still good, that we'll get back on the horse and keep going.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. I've seen that here recently where she left.
Who are the original members left in Vixen?
Shay Ross, bass player, and Roxy Petrucci.
Yeah, drummer.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I wasn't sure if there was anybody else or not.
Well, Janet just left in January, and then Janet died of cancer in 2012, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, because it was just a 4-piece band, and they've always had kind of a ghost keyboard player, so to speak, or whatever. And that's me now. I've been,
You're the ghost.
But it's cool. They still let me on stage. It's not like I'm playing behind a curtain or anything like that. Like,
that's cool.
So it's a really good, that's a well-oiled machine, and it's those women have been doing it for a really, really long time, and they know how it works, and it's just there's no. It's easy. We all get along, and I like it a lot.
Cool deal.
I loves me some Roxy.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said I love me some Roxy.
She's amazing.
And you can tell her I said that.
And you don't get her phone number though. You're gonna you can have Tyson's number, but not hers. Okay.
Yeah, she's awesome, man.
He'll creep on her. No. I'm just kidding. Anyway,
I don't think my wife would approve of that.
No, that's true too.
Probably not.
All righty. All right. So, Mr. Tyson, you got some sites you want to push, some of your websites and your connections or anything you want to promote?
I don't really have much. I mean, I just my website is just TysonLeslie.com, and that takes you to my Bandcamp page that has all my original material on there.
Okay.
I put out a record. I haven't put out anything new in a long time. So, I mean, I put out a record in 2013. And then when I moved here to Nashville, I did one song called Cradle to the Grave that was really cool. But I've been working on so many other people's music that I just haven't had a chance to really write my own these days.
Right.
I've been writing a little bit for other people. And then, so there's that. And of course, Vixen, but they're pretty easy to find. I mean, you can Google that anytime and find them anywhere.
Okay.
And I mean, that's about it. The Rare Hair show is really, I guess if I'm trying to promote anything, it's that. It's, April 1st, Basement East. That's like Facebook. On Facebook, you just type Rare Hair, and that's Hare, not like hair.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, Nashville, and you can find it. And
Okay.
so, and that's like I said, we got that coming up. And other than that, it's just like I've got a couple months where I'm here working with other artists and just writing and doing
Gotcha.
stuff like
But
that.
anytime you got one of those shows coming up, though, the Rare Hair or that other one you're talking about, just let us know and we'll promote them for you too.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
We will
And we'll
pimp
probably
you.
be. Some of us will be there.
And you might never know. We might even show up and you go, "What the hell are you guys doing?"
Yeah, absolutely. Come out. I mean, I think if you like stuff like the residency show, you'll definitely
Oh, yeah,
like
that was-
what we do. You know.
Yeah, cool.
It was a great
And,
show.
and if you're metalhead type of people, you really like it. Because the show is all based on. The idea is like, let's play stuff for kids and people that used to sit around on Saturday nights watching Headbangers Ball. I mean, it's
Oh yeah.
so
We're there,
Yeah.
dude. We are there.
yeah. So the bands
There.
we're covering this time, just to give you an idea, we're doing Great White, Warrant, Kingdom Come, Tora Tora, Loudness, Kiss, Mr. Big, Lita Ford, and Femme Fatale.
We
We're
gotta
doing,
go. We gotta go.
we're doing Tesla and Junkyard, Queensryche.
Of course, that's probably a weekday, isn't it?
No, it's a Monday.
Monday. And the reason I do Mondays is because that's when all the touring guys are
Back in town.
So,
Yeah.
and because if I do it like during a weekend or whatever, a lot of those guys are out of town. Then the show is really kind of built and based on their availability.
What is the hours on that show? You play from what to what?
We usually start the show at 8 and we're done around 11:30 or midnight at the latest.
See, I can get home by 2 and go to work at 5. So it's possible. I did it.
He acts like that's no big deal, but the night of the rock and roll, the night of the rock and roll residency, the last one, they got screwed because when did that get over? Like,
Yeah, that one went late.
Brian told
way
Brian,
late.
those guys told me that, we get done about 11 o'clock. So I'm like, hey, that's not a problem. I'll get home by about 1 o'clock. That night, it went long. I'm like going about 11
we
o'clock.
got home at like
there's
2:30,
no way.
didn't we?
It was
Yeah,
almost
that went
3
longer
o'clock.
than usual though, because it was the last one and all. So
I got a little bit of a nap and then started drinking coffee. I have to get up at 5 and I got to be at work at 6:30. And I tell you what, I chugged through the next day.
your ass kicked, didn't you?
There
Boy,
were-
man,
there
my
were-
53-year-old body was hurting, but you know what?
There were
Okay.
4 of us in
It's
that
all
car
rock.
that were hurting the next day.
yeah.
Yeah, and Tyson,
But I had
all of,
to
that,
drive.
all of that while I was asleep in my Airbnb on Broadway.
Yeah. That's the way
If I
to do it.
If I'd have been not the DD, it would have been better. But I had to drive at night too. I didn't get to sleep and then wait home. So
Well,
anyway.
you get to be the DD or the passenger for the Ace Frehley show, so
Yes,
we'll be
I am.
even.
Yes, I am. I'm going to be great.
All right. Well, Tyson, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Folks,
Hang around.
well, if I can get my tongue untied here, let's try this again. Folks, catch us on agesofrock.com. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Stitcher Radio, weekly replay on 105 The Globe at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Mondays. And until next week, folks, peace out. Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.